What's going on, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. It's time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. If you want to get caught up on these books, I'll have links down below in the description. It's a great way to help support the channel. All right, let's get into DC first. We have Batman's Second Night, issue number 3, the conclusion of this 3-part story. We have Dan Jurgens, Perkins, and Spicer on this one. It is a second volume, so go back and read volume number 1 if you want some more context on the Batman character, the overall landscape, the time period that we're in, and give you just a little bit of a vibe of what you're in for. But the second series right here, ending with issue number 3, it's just another great example of what can happen when you have a perfect creative team teaming up and doing something that feels familiar, but it also has some new elements rolled into it. So we do have a period piece with Batman. He's a little bit younger. He has lots of practical gadgets. The artwork, the landscape, the scenery, the architecture, the vibe and feel, the coloring makes it feel so grounded. These feel like actual people dressing up and doing these heroic things. The villains seem really grounded as well. There is a little bit of a supernatural element in volume number 1, a little bit of that inside of this volume here, but it is soaked with recent and current events in the story. And so it does have that grounded vibe to it. Now in this volume, Superman does show up and it has a lot of great confrontational moments in here, a lot of great dialogue between the two characters, between Batman and Superman. They're learning how to trust each other. They don't know if they can, but they're learning how each of them operates. We ask a lot of questions about why Superman doesn't intervene with stopping world wars and what his true motivations are. And I really like that between here. We've heard those things before, but they take those same themes and elements, they roll it into here, they make it feel real natural as if it was going to happen. This is the best part about this whole series, the groundedness of it. The book also features Scarecrow very heavily in what his revenge mission is on the world, so it plays with his origin and his resources a little bit. Highly recommend checking this one out. I know we have a lot of Batman books out there, but this is yet another great example of what a great team can do with this character. Next up is Absolute Wonder Woman. We have issue number 17 coming up. Of course, we have Kelly Thompson on this one, Hayden Sherman, and we have Jordi Belair. Another great issue of Absolute Wonder Woman. Absolute Wonder Woman is the best Absolute character I think we have. It's not always the most exciting book like Absolute Batman might be, as far as being grotesque or anything like that, but the character portrayal in the Absolute universe I think is executed the best. Now in this issue, we do have the Absolute Suicide Squad coming in, taking on Diana herself. We have Zatanna showing up in previous issues on full display here. We get to learn what her relationship is with the people pulling the strings. They are getting nervous about Zatanna getting some power and escaping their clutches and kind of going off on her own and doing whatever she wants to do. I'm excited to see more about Zatanna in future issues. We don't get a ton of her inside of here. It's more about the Suicide Squad taking on Diana and just trying to match their power sets to help take them out. This book also does a great job of introducing some of the more of the villains. We talked about Zatanna and the Suicide Squad, but we have another one coming up towards the end of this book who is very formidable. We're going to spend some time with this villain in the next coming issue, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it, what that is all about, what their power set is, motivations, all that kind of stuff. So excited for Absolute Wonder Woman. If you're on the Absolute Batman train and you haven't tried Wonder Woman out, highly recommend picking up the trade, getting caught up. It's some of the best books of the year. Now we have Absolute Martian Manhunter. We have issue number 9 coming out. Dennis Camp on this one. We have Javier Rodriguez doing the art and the color, and of course we have Haas doing the letters. This book is ethereal. It is introspective. We have John being taken over by the Green Martian. The Green Martian has left him his body. His spirit form is being captured right now and experimented on like an alien autopsy. We still have the White Martian, who was terrorizing us in volume number 1, around right now, influencing, pulling the strings on certain people. We also have a new Martian called Despair, who is basically this eternal darkness, this heaviness, this depression that is over John right now, influencing him in every conversation that he has, every thought that he has. He's putting all these messages in his head, and you get to see the slow degeneration of John throughout the issue and how it reflects on the relationships that he has. But the color palette, the composition, just the colors alone, you're not going to read another comic with those kinds of elements in it. This is a very special book from an art point of view, to the point where I don't think this book works if Javier Rodriguez is not on the book. Luckily, he's been on every single issue so far. This book is something special. If you like the more abstract, not so straightforward, really ethereal, fluid kinds of stories, if you like straightforward, beat 'em up, capes and cowls kinds of stuff, this book might not be for you. But if you want to get into the weird, check out Absolute Martian Manhunter. Next up, we have a new DC Vertigo book, The Pearls of Brutal Dark and Ezra Cain Mystery. So we have Chris Condon on this one, and we have Jacob Phillips doing the art. Really great art aesthetic here. If you're a fan of Brubaker's Criminal, if you're a fan of crime noir, if you like Indiana Jones kinds of stuff where it's grounded in reality, it's a little bit of a period piece, it has a street level vibe to it, but there's this mystical element that gets thrown into things, this is definitely a book for you. Now, I don't want to spoil exactly the mythological part of this because I enjoyed the shock and awe of that, but we do have a mythological artifact. We do have a lot of that soaked into the story, and so that piece has been missing. That artifact is missing. We are trying to find it right now, bring in some detectives, right? So Ezra is being pulled into the situation, and he's having to figure out all the different clues because of his unique background and skill sets. So again, if you like Indiana Jones kinds of stories, if you like crime noir stuff, you want a little bit of a mystical element thrown into that story, cannot recommend this book anymore. Check out Brutal Dark if you haven't yet. All right, let's go over to Marvel next. We have Infernal Hulk issue number 4. Of course, we have Nick Klein doing the art, which is why I'm still sticking around. Philip Kennedy Johnson on the story. This book was very interesting. It kind of came out of left field for me. It didn't really line up with what I've been seeing so far in the story, but essentially, if this ancient evil has consumed you in some way, you're locked inside of this purgatory mindscape, right? Hulk is in this place right now, and he's having to, navigate this land. It's kind of like a savage land in a way. There's a lot of other creatures that this evil entity has taken out in the past, and so Hulk is having to reorient himself with who those people are, where he is, and that's exactly what's going on here. And again, we have Nick Klein, and I think we have Matt Wilson doing some of the colors in here too. It's a very different looking book, even when compared to other Nick Klein interior issues. I think there's a little bit more of a painterly style to this particular issue, and again, the whole theme of the issue is a little bit out of place for me, but it was a visual treat nonetheless. All right, next up is Iron Man issue number 2, Joshua Williamson on this one. I gave issue number 2 a chance. I'm going to hang out for a couple more to see where it goes. Issue number 1 was okay. I didn't like the visual aesthetics of all the different characters, but some of the armor was cool. The other scenery and the backgrounds were interesting. The character design is what really got me. That pulls forward into issue number 2. Story-wise, it's okay, I would start with. We're trying to figure out who the next Tony Stark is, especially AIM and some of the ancillary characters around AIM that are teaming up with them. We have Madame Mask in here. We got MODOK showing up inside this issue. What is his connection with AIM and everybody else? Like, we see what's going on inside of there. But I feel like we're grasping at low-hanging fruit, I think, right? Like, we're always trying to figure out who the next Tony Stark is or who the next person is that can take out Tony and be like the leader in robotics and the leader in advanced military weaponry, things like that. So there's really nothing new from that point of view. And so far, we're pulling in relatively average characters from his mythos and maybe characters that haven't had the great representation as of late inside of like movies and things like that. Like, I'm glad AIM is in there. AIM is an interesting thing. Madame Mask is a little bit of a deep cut. MODOK has not gotten a lot of good press as of late, so I'm not sure why we're pulling that character in. The vibe and the feel is okay. It does make you feel like you're watching an MCU movie with Iron Man in it. So there is that stuff going on. But so far in 2 issues, I haven't been given a whole lot of meat. I haven't been given a whole lot of reason to want to get issue number 3. I want to get it because I like Joshua Williamson's writing in general, and I want to see where he might take the character, but so far there's no hook that he's really given me yet. Speaking of no hooks just yet, Punisher issue number 1 is out. Benjamin Percy is on this one. So it does take place after the events of like Punisher Red Band. So we still have Frank Castle coming back. He had the chip implanted by Wilson Fisk. He's gotten it out recently, but he's still having a lot of cognitive issues. He's passing out all over the place. But this is an issue to reorient you onto who Punisher is and what his influence is on the streets. So unfortunately, we do spend a decent amount of time just doing some silent panel work, some like omniscient narration in the beginning about who he is, how he likes to sneak into the shadows, and how he likes to, go into the areas where nobody likes to go to stop the crime. And things like that are happening. And we're interlacing that with what we know happened recently with Punisher, with him passing out and having the chip and his relationship with Wilson and how he's trying to kind of like get back up into the game and, take out the bad guy. We go as far as to see what's going on with like Tombstone and what he's been up to and all these other things. So it's a direct continuation of what's going on inside of Red Band, if I'm not mistaken. And, I wasn't too interested inside of that. I still want to know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I still want to know what happened to Frank at the end of the Jason Aaron run, right? When he went into hell essentially and was like shepherding these like innocent kids or whatever that was. Did we get an answer to that? Let me know down below because I haven't caught up on everything. This book didn't really do it for me. It is new reader friendly, but it pulls forward all the baggage that it had, and I'm not too cool about that. Next up is Dennis Camp over on the Ultimates issue number 21. This is like the revolutionary handbook, I think. And so we do get to see that. We do get to see how you would systematically take out like a society in a way. I wish it was a little bit more formatted for that kind of delivery. We do get these little narration bubbles about, okay, first you attack like this, and then you do this, and then you manipulate like this. But it wasn't like a handbook, so to speak. We had a cover page, but I wish the formatting was more into that. They need to lean into that from a design point of view. But other than that, we do have the Defenders showing up in here, taking on our Ultimates team, specifically Luke Cage and the forces that he's been putting together. So it's almost like we got this super billionaire putting together his own strike team to take out our heroes and to do some PR work to kind of, put them down a little bit. That's what we're trying to do right here. We're trying to tarnish the image of the Ultimate team. I do think that if you like the Ultimates so far, especially the latter half of this entire series, you're going to enjoy this book. I think for me, it was a decent book. I wanted more of the handbook aesthetic to it from a design point of view. I think that would have made it so much better. We have Miss Trudale and the Rise of Men, issue number 3. We're getting into this Hellboy universe a little bit more. I did go back finally and read the first volume of Miss Trudale from Mike Mignola and Jesse Lonergan. Unfortunately, it didn't make me any wiser as to like who this character is or how she's able to do this. There is this connection between her and Hellboy. In fact, in this issue, there's so many parallels of battles that he had, battles that she's going through, and maybe there's even dialogue that suggests that she's in his head or he's in hers. A little bit of confusion there still for me. I'd really need to be spoon-fed what is going on and what her power set is here. But even with that ambiguity, the interior artwork and the way that Jesse is able to make your eye go from left to right, up to down, it's rare you see that kind of stuff in comics. He is truly a master of the page when it comes to composition and just pacing alone. He's taking this ambiguity from the script and he's making it just a visual treat on the page. And so you couldn't ask for more from a visual perspective to help tell a story that is a little bit confusing. With that said, I'm going to be sticking around for this one because I'm enjoying the interiors so much and I want to know more about Miss Trudale and her connection with Hellboy in general. If you know down below, please clarify for me, how are these two characters connected? There's not a whole lot from what I understand, but like I said, I did read volume number 1. I learned a little bit, but not everything I want to know. All right, in Mad Cave, we have Is Ted Okay? Issue number 1. David Crissom is on this one. Now, this is not a writer or an artist that I am super familiar with, but I'm becoming more familiar because of Eric from 9-Panel Grid. Now, this book is a dystopian future. We have this one guy that's being observed by this full-time person who's sitting there and watching people for any kind of suicidal or homicidal tendencies. It's a very atmospheric, moody kind of a book. It's not a book that makes you feel good. So if you don't like those kinds of things, this might not be a book for you, but it has a Blade Runner vibe to it. It has a Matrix vibe to it where the society is completely subdued at the moment, right? We have so many Big Brother things happening, and even the Big Brother people have Big Brothers, and they're having to go about their days fulfilling whatever their roles are, and nobody seems to be happy about this. Now, one of our main characters, he works in an office-type position. He's just trying to get through his day, and he has tendencies for suicidal ideation or whatever it might be, and so it's this whole thing of keeping him alive and using the channels that our observers have to do that, but they all have their cynical viewpoints, and it's just really a snowball for a disaster. But again, the main thing here is just the vibe you get for reading the book and the way that the art ties all that together. It's definitely a full package. It puts you exactly where it needs to put you from a mindset point of view to really enjoy the book. So if you don't like heavy, dark, depressing kinds of stories, might want to shy away from this one, but it's been a great ride so far. Next up, we have Ziegler and Canetti over on Spirits of the Shadows. We have issue number 2 coming out. So we learned a little bit more about our main character. We learned a little bit more about how he got to the position he is and the people that want to seek revenge on him. We know about the forbidden fruit that he was chasing while he was still alive. So that gives us an idea of how he was murdered to begin with, but there's still a lot of mystery because the way you are in the spirit realm is the way that you died, and that wasn't aligned. So there's some other things happening here, some other times where he was killed and brought back to life somehow. And there's a lot of witch play and things like that, witchcraft rather, that is happening inside of here. So it's an interesting discovery of who this person is, is his motives behind what he did, his real life actions that led to his initial death, and the people around him that want revenge. Like a lot of the books we've talked about so far, the interior artwork really helps sell the entire story. Nick Cagnetti is doing an amazing job with the coloring and everything, just bringing this like spiritual world to life, making everything flow and feel kinetic. Just adds so much different like mystical elements to the page. It's really a visual treat. So I'm going to be sticking around for this one for the long haul, I think. I'm having a great time with it so far. Lots of cool things to uncover still. Let me know if you're reading it. All right, next up is Murder Drones from Oni Press. This might be a weird book for some. This is actually a very popular online show. I think it's on YouTube. There's only about 7 episodes, I think, but it has hundreds of thousands of views, a very successful Kickstarter for the hardcover collected edition from last year, which I participated in, waiting for that to come in. But I owe everything to my daughter for hooking me up on this one because she was in the know early on. She loves all that stuff. She has all the plushes for the characters and everything. I've watched the show online. Now we have the comic, and it's a pretty good one-for-one representation of what you see online. Now, with my daughter, we did watch the first episode again and read this comic together, literally comparing page to page the scripts. I would say for the first half or so, it's pretty much one-to-one as far as like the still shots and the dialogue between the characters. Towards the second half, they take some creative liberties to tighten things up on the comic book side, and it really pissed her off because she's so true to the source material, which to her is the TV show since it came out first. It was really funny to see her get worked up on that because she hasn't had a lot of those comparison opportunities before. At the end of the day, I do think it does do a decent job of telling you who these characters are, what their main focus is, what the battle is, the societal battles that are going on right now between these different robot factions, what happened to the humans and everything. So it's a cool sci-fi book if you want to get into that. Very Matrix-like, where robots have taken over everything and there's different classes of robots and how they interact with each other, things like that. So if you're into that kind of stuff, if you're familiar with Murder Drones in general, highly recommend checking this out. And hey, it's the first appearance for everybody in comic form, so if you can get it, I would say get it. Next up, we have Conan the Barbarian issue number 29. Of course, we have Jim Zub on this one, and we have Berthwaite doing the interior artwork. I love the interior artwork. It is so good. He has the best interior artwork, people, for a Conan title that I can even imagine, man. It doesn't matter if it shifts around a little bit here and there. Whoever is on the interiors is always killing it and matching the tone of the story perfectly. Even on Savage Sword, when you have a rotating guests on writing and artists, like they seem to know exactly what they're looking for. They get those people and they always seem to execute. Now, this issue does start us off into a new path, although it comes off the heels of the King Conan arc that we just got out of, completely focusing on a new character and how he is treated inside of his clan and some of the manipulation that he goes through, some of the psychology changes and how people view him and how he rises through the ranks and inadvertently in his local society. Now, he is approached because of his actions by some mystical forces that we do see a lot of in the previous issues of Conan, so everything's going to be tying together very soon. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with because he's just naturally kind of like a Cain type of a character, and you see that on display through here, but kind of taking out a lot of the other kids his age and eventually his father. So you mix that attitude and that like physical prowess with this evil force that we're seeing in previous issues, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. It's also the first appearance of this character, so if you're into that kind of thing, you might want to be checking this one out. I thought it was a spectacular issue. I cannot wait for more. Like I said, over and over and over again, everything Conan the Barbarian right now is a must-read. From proper to Savage Sword, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you're not, make sure to check it out. Next up, we have Karen Gillan and Casper Wingard, of course, over on the Power Fantasy issue number 16. So yes, there will be more Power Fantasy. Let me go ahead and start with that. Kieran was doing a little bit of a bait and switch in some of the previous issues in the back matter, saying, I don't know, guys, maybe it will, maybe it won't. They will be taking a break. How long is the break? We don't know just yet, but they're going to be recharging, re-energizing, and going forth from there. Now, Kieran is also doing Die Loaded right now with Stephanie Hans, another spectacular book. Highly recommend that one. But it is also very dense and complex. Lots of moving parts in that, so I can see why he wants to take a little bit of a break, focus a little bit more on Die, and then we can come back to Power Fantasy maybe towards the end of the year. Now, this one's going to be hard to review because if you're reading along and haven't caught up yet, or you intend to catch up, what happens in this issue is I want it to be a surprise. I will say this. There are a couple things that we've been teasing for a very long time. Does that happen in the book? Yes. There are some things to help get us out of the situation that we're in right now. What's going to be our main focus? What's going to be our aim? Where are we going to go from here? We get that answer inside this book as well. There is a lot of mystery about like what it all means still. And it's so hard not to give you specific examples. I will say if you've been reading the story and you love it, you're going to love where the book goes. And you're going to have so many questions as to, oh God, now what are we going to do? That's the power of just a truly amazing story. I don't need to say much about Casper Wengard and the art style. You guys know my feelings about that. Some of the best work in comics now. The coloring is unbelievable in the book. Totally matches the tone for all the characters. It's a complete package. Power Fantasy is one of the best books I've ever read. I highly hope that they're going to come out with a collected edition, like a deluxe hardcover collected edition especially. That's going to be something special to own. Make sure to check this one out. It made so many of our lists for best comics of the year last year, and it's going to be at least an honorable mention this year, even though we got 2 issues out. Now we have Escape issue number 6 with Rick Remender and Daniel Acuna. This is a really special book as well. It is very much like Inglourious Bastards as far as like how they handle character dialogue, how they ramp up just the risk of everything. You feel fearful for everybody inside this book. The evil forces on display are evident. The conversation is dangerous. Like I said before, you feel stressed out reading this one when you are just in normal conversation. That's just a normal conversation. There are so many surprises and getaway scenes and explosions and gunfight, hand-to-hand combat riddled throughout the story as well. So, like, you have pretty much all the range of emotion in this one comic. Acuna doing the art and doing the coloring is something spectacular. He was on Avengers Twilight in the past, which is one of the best Marvel things that have come out in the last few years. I highly recommend checking that out from Chip Zdarsky. This book's coloring is very restrained, but very meaningful whenever he decides to put that on the full display. Escape also made my best of comics from last year, so I highly recommend checking out Escape, going back and reading the previous issues, getting into this world because it is awesome. Let me know if you're reading it. Next up is Jeff Johns over on Hyde Street. We have issue number 10 coming out. I love me some Hyde Street. I like having that horror book all year round coming out. We had a little bit of a break. We're coming back to Hyde Street now. We have some new characters being introduced in, and it's always fun to add them to the mix because you have your pot about to boil over with the characters already. We keep throwing in a couple more ingredients here and there, and we're going to see exactly what's going to be happening there. Now, all these characters are trapped inside of Hyde Street. Their goal is to take out as many souls as possible to meet a certain quota to be released from this purgatory they found themselves in. We have some more characters being entered in right now, and they have a very special, like, medium type of a power. So it's a pretty cool power set. They know how to manipulate the masses and play with their emotions, which is how they're able to try to meet their quota. In this issue, though, we understand there might be a backdoor to get out of Hyde Street besides meeting your quota. And some of our heroes, and some of our anti-heroes rather, they don't want to meet their quota because there's going to be some kind of a sacrifice they have to make towards the end that they're not ready to make. So this other avenue to get out, to go around the gameskeeper or scorekeeper, seems pretty enticing, but like, what do they have to give up just to go that route? So we keep building on the mythology of Hyde Street in general. It was pretty straightforward. Adding more characters adds complication, which is really fun in this instance. All right, lastly, we have Tyler Boss and we have Martin Simmons over on Universal Monster, Phantom of the Opera issue number 1. Now, the biggest lesson learned that I could share with you all is if you have not watched some of the key movies, the key representations of these properties, like the early Invisible Man movies, or if you want to watch the original Frankensteins, things like that, I would highly recommend checking those out before reading the comics because it's really fun to play around with, like how they're mixing all this new story in. Sometimes they take literally that old movie and they focus on some ancillary characters. They focus on what was happening between the panels, and it really plays into the entire story in a real meaningful way. So it really just gives you additional context on the main characters and the story and the plot and everything that you never had before, but you need that base understanding of what's going on in the movie to really enjoy it. So with that said, I haven't seen Phantom of the Opera in a very, very, very long time. I think I watched it when I was a kid, and I never had the opportunity to watch it again as an adult, so I'm missing some of the nuance, although it's still a good time to read it. Martin Simmons is doing a great job of keeping this ethereal, keeping it abstract, keeping the horror element alive in here. We have these ghostly elements, obviously the Phantom of the Opera coming in and influencing people. There's a lot of tragedy and death in the opening scenes. So there's a really good vibe and aesthetic that's being established here. The story is creepy. Tyler Boss is doing a great job with that. And Martin Simmons is matching the tone and the art. So I'm loving it so far. But like I said, I need to go back and watch some of the movie adaptations to really hone in and remember these characters and remember the plot points. And then I can really start picking it apart or combining the comic and their perspective versus the movies. All right, guys, that's what I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you read down below in the comments and what your favorite books of the week were. Then while you're in the description, go down there and check out the links. It's a great way to help support the channel, and you can get caught up to join me in the conversation every week. But that said, guys, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the comments.